What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Dane, and guess what? We're bringing you a completely different video than we're normally used to showing on this channel. We're not talking about real estate, we're not talking about Web3, and we're not talking about biking and do-it-yourself at all. What we're talking about is jewelry. That's right, folks. Jewelry. I just want to give a review because I'm stoked for my new everyday chain that I got here. It's a Franco Italian chain. It is a 22-inch and 14 karat gold. And I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about where I got this from, just some of my first impressions, just the entire purchasing process, and we'll leave it at that. And just some other information that I think you might find important if you're interested in getting one of these chains, whether it's the same brand or not. I think it's just some good knowledge for you to have, because when you're making the purchase of jewelry, especially expensive jewelry, oftentimes you can't go and return it after you've made a purchase. Maybe you can make an exchange, but if you can just make the right decision from the get-go, at the end of the day, it's gonna make you a lot happier, and it's also gonna be a little bit easier on your pocket as well. And if you guys are hearing any kind of little background noise, ignore that. We got some people doing a little bit of chimney cleaning and maintenance today. So a little bit of craziness happening about 20 feet above our head, but it's not gonna stop us from bringing you this awesome content. So let's get into it. Let's start with a little bit of an unboxing. Obviously, we're already wearing the chain, but we took some footage from the unboxing. We also got some footage to show you of wearing this on a couple different shirts, having it tucked in, and also just some thoughts on how it's gonna be in terms of wearing it every day as an everyday chain. So let's get into it.
Me and the American pants, got a protect and it's dancing. The diamonds, they looking like Shiggy. This ice on my neck got me nippy. Got a big bag like Wendy's. Your money funny is witty. Got all blue bands, you looking all creepy. Sticky, sticky. I get a check and it's litty. Sticky, sticky. I get to the cash in the jiffy. Hop in the whip and I land to the bank. Pull up the chase and order some franks. I'm bigger Hans when it comes to the cake. There ain't no limit like I got a tank. If we talking money, then I walk it like I talk it. I'm walking to the bank, gotta stim me for deposit. I'm getting to this cash, they just hit me with an audit. And I got all the drip just like a faucet,
All right, so now you've seen it unboxed. You've seen some of these up close and personal shots of this 14 karat, 4mm, 22-inch Jacoje chain. That's right, the brand is Jacoje. That's Jacoje. And the main guy for the company, Braden, he's out of California. He started the company, I don't even know exactly, but I can tell you this, the YouTube videos, the social media seem to have started about 5 years ago. He's become one of the top online retailers, I believe, in terms of men's gold chains. There's a couple other companies out there. I will mention those companies as I did shop around. I had no loyalty towards Braden. The only loyalty was that was built up through watching a lot of his videos and just seeing what looked to be honest feedback that he would give people asking questions in the comments of his videos. He was just giving honest reviews about the products, doing good comparisons, and it just seemed that he was genuinely honest and a good person to deal with. And being an online shopper, I understand the value that buying something online can have. You're gonna be saving a lot of costs because you don't have that retail store frontage, you don't have a lot of overhead costs. So your costs are a little bit different, which means in terms of jewelry, which can have anywhere from at minimum, let's just say maybe around 100% markup, as high as 500%, and you're gonna see that shopping around, you're gonna get a lot closer to that 100% markup, or maybe even less, if you could find yourself a good reputable online dealer, or maybe a local jeweler that you've worked with a lot. But regardless, we went the online route, so I wanna talk more about that. So to start, how did I find Braden? How did I find his Jacoje brand? Well, it was simply just going online, typing in men's gold chains, just starting to look at some websites, and it quickly brought me to Braden and a lot of his chains. After getting to see what chains he offered, which chains he was saying was the most popular from his sales, I went into a big retail store at our local mall. I ended up going into Zales, and I'm sure everyone's familiar with that name. So I went in there for two reasons. The first reason was to get in and see the actual Franco chain. The second reason, not only just to compare pricing, but it was to figure out the right length. And I think that is a huge topic, a huge point to focus on when you're picking your chain. It's not only the thickness of the chain that you want, but it's also the length. And what you're looking at right here, again, is the 22-inch. I was able to get into Zales and try on, not only did they have the Franco, but they had it in a 24 and a 22 inch length. So that was perfect for me. So I was able to try on the actual Franco. It was smaller than this. It was actually more like a 3mm, might have even been a little smaller than that when I think back to it. So I quickly knew that the 22 inch size was the size I wanted to go. And you can go check out the Jacoje videos and they'll show you, they'll layer them and let you see what each size looks like. But at the end of the day, you need to know your body build and what's gonna be best for how you're gonna be using this chain. If it's a daily basis type chain, if it's just for special occasions, that's gonna all factor into what size chain you're gonna want. I went with the 22 inch. It's the perfect size for me. It's short enough where it can't slip over my neck. A 24 inch I can just take right over my head. But at least with a 22, I don't have to worry about, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm swimming in the ocean, if I'm running, I don't have to worry about this thing falling off my head if I'm doing a handstand, because, you know, I do handstands all the time, right? So I don't have to worry about that. I also don't have to worry about it choking me because it's too small, and it doesn't have to look like a choker on me as well, or showing up on every single shirt that I'm wearing because it's hugging me and it's sitting back here, which, not to say this is a bad look, I think this is actually a nice, clean, conservative look. For myself, I just like a little bit more of that hang. I do think the 20 and the 22 inch length are gonna be your most common popular lengths. I will add some of my body dimensions, my size, so you can get a good frame of reference. Neck size, I'm about a 15.5. My body build, I don't have too broad or wide of shoulders. I'm also about 5'9", 5'10". So now you guys know my body composition. You know I'm sitting on a 22 inch chain right here. So the last point, again, on the length of the chain and making sure you don't mess that up. You don't have to go doing returns, exchanges, or anything with Jacoje if they'll work with you on that, is figuring out the size that you want, and there's no easier way than going to a retail store and checking out what they got. So let's move on from the length. Next, we're gonna talk about thickness. And thickness is one of those ones, again, you need to get into a store, because watching an online video, looking at some pictures is not gonna do it justice to let you figure out the size. You might be thinking you want a 2mm, and the second that comes in, you realize how thin that is and that you should have gone heavier. So get into the stores and check that out. You have gram size, so the amount of weight that this is, but then you also have the thickness. So you could have, this is a 4mm chain, you could have a 4mm chain that's weighing in at 40 grams, and you could have a 4mm chain that's weighing in at 60 grams. And that's what this one is. We'll throw it on this scale for you to see right here. So this chain came in weighing just over 61 grams, and that's actually what the website, the Jacoje website, gave an approximate weight of. It gave up an approximate weight of 61 grams, and it came in weighing just over that. The other nice benefit with Jacoje that I found out is that on a lot of the 3 to 4mm chains, the sizes are all running up. So when you're ordering, say, a 3mm, you're probably getting somewhere closer to maybe a 3.5. When you get that 3.5, you're closer to a 4. So this 4mm chain averages out to 4.5 millimeters. And it's weighing that 61 grams. So this is a nice weighted chain. You feel the weight when you put this on. If you haven't been wearing chains, and I had not been wearing a necklace in decades. The last necklace I wore was back in middle school, and it was a sterling silver Figaro. That's how long it's been. But this thing is hefty. It's got some good weight to it. It lays on my body perfectly. It's not so light that I feel it's not knotting up. It's not turning around when it's on me. It lays flat, which I love. And I have my little collarbone area right here. It even will sit into my collarbone when I'm not wearing a shirt. So that it's got some good weight to it, which I like. I knew I wanted the 4mm. The only thing I wasn't sure about was knowing if the clasp was gonna fit through the bail of a pendant that I own. So we'll get into that later. That's not what this video is about. It's just making sure you figure out the size that you want. So if you're going for something that you want to be a little bit more of an everyday casual wear look, you need to take into consideration your body build, your size. As you can see, for me, this 4mm I think is the perfect size. I probably could have gone with maybe the 3 or the 3.5, knowing that the sizes come a little bit larger. But I think if I had gone with the 3mm, I might have wanted to go up a little bit higher in carat size. I might have wanted to go to the 18 karat. But after doing all my research and everything, I determined that the 14 karat for my everyday use and the type of lifestyle I live was gonna be the better fit. I'm not gonna have to take as much care of it. I don't have to be as careful with things that I'm doing as I would have to do if I was going with that 18 karat gold. And truthfully for myself, I can't really see myself going bigger. I think that 60 grams is about the weight limit I would want on my neck besides adding a small pendant. But that's just me. You might be a bigger person, you might want that bigger chain for certain purposes, but for me this 22 at 4mm is the perfect size. But now that I've got it, I love it. It's growing on me, and personally, I think it's an awesome look. And I think the tucked in look with this chain makes it stand out even more. Because if it's thinner and you're wearing that tucked look, which I personally love the tucked look with the chain, although I will say on certain shirts, these chains just pop. The diamond cut is beautiful, and that's something we haven't talked about yet, and we're gonna hit on here in just a second. But I think the thickness, when it's popping out on just the sides and on the back, I think the 4mm is perfect. Again, that 4mm is really like a 4.5. So had you been on the cusp of going up to the 5, I really think you're gonna be happy with the 4. I don't think you can go wrong with it. I also think it's a good size that if I were wanting to do any kind of stacking with my chains, which that's way down the road. I'm just getting used to wearing a single chain right now. But if you were to stack, I think the idea of having a thicker chain, that the longer chain should be thicker, and I feel like your shorter chain should be a little bit thinner. Maybe since it's gonna be the one that I wouldn't be wearing as often, that's the one where I might be going 18 karat, 22 karat for like a small 18 or 20 for stacking purposes. But having never had friends or anybody that had this Franco design, after seeing it in person, I was blown away. And one of the things I was kind of on the fence about when I was looking at these was, do I want to go with the standard Franco design or do I want to go with the diamond cut? The diamond cut is beautiful. The reason I love the diamond cut, and everyone's gonna have different opinions on this, is the actual look of the Franco chain is drastically changed when you go to the diamond cut, because the diamond cut is shaving off some of those edges, so it actually gives it a little bit more of a round look rather than just that straight boxy look that a regular Franco can look like, which there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're talking about everyday wear and lifestyle, this style is gonna roll a little bit better. I don't know if you can see me doing this, but it's just easily rolling, and you can see it's not kinking up, so it rolls around on my neck better, it feels better. It's also got that beautiful shine to it, which is what the diamond cut is really adding. It's adding that extra edge for light to reflect and hit on, and I love it. I thought maybe it was gonna be a little bit overkill. I'm a little bit more of a conservative person, but let me tell you, after getting this and staring at it, there is nothing wrong with it. And you would think that over time, let's say like a decade down the road, maybe, you know, part of this could fade a little bit. I don't know how good, you know, it's a solid gold necklace, but most likely there's still a coating on the top layer just to give it that extra shine. My thought is that's something that over the years could maybe start to fade a little bit. So why not just start with that diamond cut from the get-go? But with the diamond cut comes a couple things you need to know about. So the diamond cut does end up adding a little bit more sharp edging to some of these links. The only thing that means is that it can get snagged on something. Has this happened to me yet? Kinda, sorta, hard to say. Like I told you, it's been about 2 weeks that I've had the chain. I'll show you some images of wearing an actual workout shirt, that type of synthetic material that I can see this getting caught on a lot more. On a shirt like this, just a regular cotton shirt, you should not experience any kind of snagging. But again, I'm only dealing with a 4mm chain here, so if you have a lighter chain, obviously a lighter link has a little bit easier chance of getting caught on something, whereas when you got this heavier link, it's gonna be just weighting itself down more. It's not gonna be as prone to getting snagged on anything. In terms of my beard hairs, neck hairs, anything like that, I have not felt it at all on the neck. It doesn't bother me at all, but I will say I have leaned forward. I was doing a push-up and I leaned forward and I felt the Franco chain snag one of my beard hairs. So that is something that's possible. It can happen. Just some food for thought. I hear that that's not as common, or it shouldn't be happening at all if you've got the regular Franco non-diamond cut version. And with my lifestyle, I actually wear quite a few workout shirts. You know, I get into the gym often, so I do wear those type of shirts. We'll see. It shows up under those type of shirts a little bit more. Not that that's a big deal or not. But again, this goes back to talking about chain length. You gotta be aware of the size and length chain you want, because that's just gonna add a whole different feel for you if you're using this as an everyday chain. So if you're going into the gym, and I just learned this one being in the gym, I was able to get pretty much all my workouts in without any kind of issues with this, except squatting. When you put that bar across your neck and shoulders, that bar pretty much rests exactly where your necklace is gonna be. So if you are planning for squat day, maybe if you got a super thin chain of like a millimeter, you're gonna be able to wear it while you deal with this, but this is not something where I would want a bar pushing this into the back of my neck. That's not gonna feel good whatsoever. So I highly recommend that if you are going to the gym, you're planning on doing any of those squats, or you're putting a bar across your back, you might need to adjust this, like even if you pull it back, it still puts the chain, you know, like right here where a bar could be. So that's the only thing so far that I experienced that got in the way of what else I was doing. When I was jogging on the treadmill, the one thing I'm gonna say about this is I hope you like the sound of money, because if you're getting a heavier chain, you are gonna hear this chang chang chang-a-langin'. I'm gonna try and get you some of that noise. But there is a sound of money when you are running around wearing a heavy chain like this. You feel it. And I'll say this, if I were heavier than 60 grams, I think this actually might be hurting my collarbone a little bit with the bouncing up and down. It might be able to stay in your shirt for a certain amount of time, depending on the thickness and how tight your collar is on your shirt. There's a good chance if you're doing any kind of substantial jogging, high speed, heavy running, that your chain's gonna pop out of the shirt while you're doing that. So that's something you want to think about. If you have the lighter style, it's not going to be as noticeable, but on a 22-inch, 60-gram chain, I definitely feel it and am aware of it when I'm doing a jogging or run. So that might be something I have to start thinking about, like how often do I want to wear this into the gym? I actually do some boxing too. So anything like that where it's just intense hopping around, bouncing, there's a really good chance that your necklace is going to be hopping out of your shirt. It's gonna be exposed. So if you were going for a little bit more of that tucked, conservative look, something to be mindful of. A good chance in the gym you are gonna be showing this thing half the time just because of the way your shirts are. All right, so we've talked about length. We've talked about the weight. We've talked about the thickness. We've talked a little bit about the diamond cut and the snagging that can occur. But it's definitely enough where at this point, I would not deter anybody from picking up the diamond cut. I love the look. I do think it's got a little bit of a shine when the light hits it, but either way, it just looks good. I love the look of it. The second I took it out of the box and my wife saw it, I saw her eyes light up. She loved the chain. And I haven't had many, comments or anything about it yet, but I think that's because it just looks good. It looks normal. It doesn't stand out. It's not too flashy, and it goes with a lot of the attire that I wear. It makes a lot of my outfits just pop out even more. And again, I love this look right here. I love the thickness, and I just love this look. And I can tell you, I'm already in love with this chain. I do love wearing jewelry. I always wear the wedding band. But outside of that, I've got a gold bracelet that I really only wear for like events and special occasions because it's sentimental to me and it's heavy. It's like an 80-gram bracelet. I'll show that to you because this thing is decades old. It was a family heirloom that got passed down to me. It's got that nugget style look to it. I'll show it to you guys because it actually pairs up well with this necklace. But it's a little bit intense. It's not something I'm wearing every day because it is 80 grams. It definitely stands out. It looks like a Mr. T type bracelet. So I wanted something else that I could be wearing as my everyday chain. I wanted gold, and I'm just super happy. There is no buyer's remorse. I'm ecstatic about this Jacoje chain. So now I want to wrap up by talking about why I went with Jacoje, the value that I feel I got for this chain versus other retailers out there, and just at the end of the day, how I'm happy with the decision of going with Jacoje. So I told you at the beginning, I found Braden just through going online, searching for gold retailers, online retailers, and I started stumbling across a few like Saints Row, Proclamation Jewelers, Track NYC. So I'm gonna throw up on the screen here just a couple screenshots that I took with my phone when I was doing my shopping. There was two big things I was looking at. Obviously, I knew I wanted 14 karat and I knew I wanted 22 inch. So when I was looking around at all these retailers, one of the things I was focusing on obviously was the price and the weight. As long as it met the 14 karat 22 inch and it was 4 millimeter, the other two main things I was looking at was price and weight, because those go hand in hand and help determine how much really over spot value of gold you're paying for your jewelry. Spot value is what the value of gold is worth the day that you're buying it. So if you're doing the math and you're looking at what the spot value of gold is versus the grams, there's some easy calculations you can do there to see really what kind of a markup you're paying. And buying jewelry is not the same as investing in precious metals and going and buying some gold or silver bars, you know, where you go buy yourself a troy ounce bar or, you know, just a silver coin. When you're doing that, you're gonna be buying just a little bit over, maybe 5% over spot value. And that's something that you're buying as a collectible, as a investment. When you're buying jewelry, yes, it's also an investment, but just remember, when you go to, if you needed to go sell this, if you were in a desperate situation and you need to go cash in on this and you needed cash fast, you are not gonna be able to sell this weight for that actual spot value. And there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, it's 14 karat gold, so it means there's a mixture. I want to say it's only about 58% gold, the rest being other types of metals. So that's what adds to the weight, but it also what helps determine the value and what it's worth. So there are some calculations you can do, but when I went and I compared all these different retailers, I got a lot more bang for my buck with Jacoje and the weight for the 14 karat. I saw a lot of other sites where the pricing was similar, maybe just a little bit less, but there was a substantial drop in the actual grams. And I knew I wanted something a little bit heavier. So I knew I wanted something around that 60 gram. And it was really hard to find any other company close to 60 grams that was competitive with the price for this exact spec necklace. I think the closest one, and I'll throw them up on the screen so you can see. I want to say that it was Proclamation Jewelry was the only other one that to me was in the running, and the only reason it was in the running was because of the clasp that they use. They've got this really unique clasp that they have. It's not the lobster style. I want to say it's something like, it's like a snake and a lion. So it almost looks like its own little pendant or charm on the necklace. It doesn't look like a normal clasp. That was actually pretty interesting to me, but I think it looked like the value for that, they were pricing just that additional clasp almost at around $700 because the chains were similar in price and the weight wasn't too far off, but I feel like that clasp was adding on to some of the weight, and it had a lot longer of a delivery time as well. So if you needed that instant gratification, which I wanted at the time, I wasn't gonna be able to get that by going with Proclamation Jewelry. Also, again, I love the amount of content Braden's putting out there. I like supporting people that are hustling on YouTube, building up those vlogs and doing all that. That's something that just, it hits true to me, and I can just see how much attention Braden's putting into the actual buyers that are helping him grow. He's always doing these Instagram reels where he's just giving, or stories where he's doing shout outs to people making their orders. I didn't make that, but is what it is. But I also found out, and this was after I ordered, and I'm gonna leave it at this, bolt up baby. I saw Braden is a LA Chargers fan, so shout out to all my Chargers fans out there. And if you made it this far and you're just finding out I'm a Chargers fan and that upsets you, I'm so sorry, but it doesn't matter. But I'm gonna wrap this video up. I hope you guys got some awesome shots. I hope you guys got some good tips from what I was talking about with this chain. I hope you guys get out there and you make yourselves an awesome informed decision without any kind of buyer's remorse, any kind of regrets, and hopefully I help you make that decision. But either way, I'm gonna try and bring you guys at least another jewelry video or two. I'm gonna show you guys the pendant that I'm gonna be putting on this thing. It's a pretty cool, unique pendant that I picked up recently. It is sterling silver, but regardless, I'll still rock it on this chain occasionally. So I'm gonna show you that. because we are gonna have to do a little bit of resizing to get that thing to work. And then I'm gonna get a custom made pendant done as well that should match up with my bracelet. Actually kind of similar to some of the ones that Braden sells on the website there. But I do plan to get a pendant for this. I do want something that can lay a little bit flat so it can be in that tucked version under the shirt. But either way, I hope this video helped you in some way or another. And if you guys ever have any questions or concerns about real estate, that is my main focus. That's my main money maker. That's what I do. That's what I invest in. So check out my channel. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button. And for all my gold lovers out there, stay classy, baby.
The diamonds, they looking like shiggy. This ice on my neck got me nippy. Got a big bag like Wendy's.